Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video we're going to be looking at the A3 electric version, so the Tfsi E, and this one's the actual 40 Tfsi model. And the base price for these is just under, or just over 34,000, and basically what we're going to be looking at today is whether they're worth the hype, whether they drive any differently, and yeah, whether you're actually getting much for that extra cash. So it's about £7 more than the standard S-Line, or the S-Line equivalent, which in this case we've gone for the S-Tronic 1.5 35 TFSI. So £7 more. What do you actually get? So we'll start off by looking at the exterior. Straight away, although it's the S-Line, what they have done is stripped away the sports suspension. So you can see there it's sitting noticeably higher. So on the standard A3, so the S-Line, the Edition 1, upwards including Vorsprung, even the S3, I think, they all sit 15mm lower. On this car, you can see it clearly doesn't, and it's actually got smaller alloys as well. So just have a quick look here. You can see it's got 18-inch alloys, which obviously don't help the gap either. You see there, I could probably even, where's my trainer in there? Huge gap. It's obviously the S-Line trim. You've got the chrome stuff going on there. Like I said, it's got some basic alloys. This one has actually got matrix headlights, so that was 670 odd pounds of an upgrade. Got the standard S-Line grille at the front as well. On the previous model, so on the A3, when you would get a A3 e-tron, what would actually happen is the logo would pop out, move to the side, and you plug the cable in. So nice and hidden, and no obvious way for you to tell that this was a hybrid model. Whereas on this one, you've got the well, it just looks like an extra petrol cap, but in my opinion, not sure why they put it there. It just looks a bit hideous and out of place. So works in the same way as the standard A3s, push in, and then you pretty much just take your charging cable, plug it in, and you're good to go. So you see there, it's noticed the cable's in, it's locked it. It actually is supposed to give you between 37 and 40 miles per gallon, depending on your alloy setup. So if you go for the 17s, you get a bit more mileage out there. Jumping on the inside, it's got the S-Line interior, so the twin leather seats. To be honest, now seeing these after having been sat in my Edition 1 for best part of a few months now, not sure I quite like these. I mean, look, already this car's only got 700 miles on it, but it's already like rippling a bit there, so I don't know whether that's because it's obviously fake leather. But let's jump inside. Now, sitting inside the car, you can see it's got the smaller virtual cockpit, so the standard one. That is obviously because it's an S-Line spec. And yeah, so what you can see is it's, rather than have your a fuel gauge and your water temperature gauge on the left and the right, instead what it's got is a battery gauge on the left hand side and then a fuel gauge on the right hand side. The virtual cockpit actually looks a bit, I'd say it feels a bit, I don't know if cheap is the right word, but it feels like, yeah, it feels like cost cutting because they've not used the full space. So a quick way to show you guys what I mean is if we just look at the map for a second and we go to full screen mode, you see this is pretty pointless. You can't really see much. Whereas on the Edition 1, when you have the cockpit, it's obviously edge to edge. This feels a lot nicer and has a much better resolution. Just going back to the dials, there is a addition of different dials that you can get. So the top basically showing you how much you've got left in the petrol tank, and then the bottom showing you how much you've got left in the electric range. So quite a lot of stuff going on there, but generally for a car that costs £7 more than the standard S-Line, right now, initial impressions, I don't feel that's £7 well spent. simply because you're not getting anything extra. In fact, you're probably getting a few things removed, such as the standard suspension. And then coming down here, you've obviously got, well, like I said, this car hasn't got much in the forms of upgrade other than the matrix lights, the storage pack and the ambient lighting pack. So you can see it's got the ambient lights here. It's got the same climate control system as well. Oh, sorry, it has got heated seats as well, which you actually have to pay for on a 35 grand car. But yeah, you've got to pay to have heated seats as extra. There's quite a few buttons missing here, so I'm guessing one is the park assist, the parking sensors, or the park assist function, and maybe parking sensors function. But basically going through the 4 different modes. So if I just press that button down there, at the top you've got EV, which is 100% electricity. You've then got auto hybrid, which lets the car basically pick and choose when it wants to switch between petrol. Just bring that back up. And then you've got these 2 additional options at the bottom: battery hold and battery charge. Battery hold basically makes sure that the car doesn't fall below the set charge or the current level of charge. And then battery charge basically focuses on increasing the hybrid charge of the vehicle. It's a bit annoying that I have to keep pressing this to bring this menu back up, but these last 2 options, you have to physically touch them. A couple of the other things that I've noticed are different. On the standard A3, you would just push the petrol cap to open, but on this one there's a separate lever here. And then what that does is actually open it here. So just close that, and you'll see on the standard A3s you can just push in and it pops out, but on this, for some strange reason, you've got to press that lever. Then finally, if we just come into the boot, we've also got the charge cables, which we saw earlier, but interestingly, you've literally got no space underneath. Now I'm assuming that's where the battery goes on the car. So yeah, no space for storage. And you would remember from when we showed you Maurizio's car, you actually can't drop this any lower. It's a fixed height. So underneath the engine bay is where it's completely different from your standard A3, so you can probably hear it making some of the noises. But essentially you've got your standard engine piece here, so that's the 1.4 litre, and then I'm guessing that's the mechanism or the motor, electric motor, and the battery element, which actually might be in the boot. So yeah, completely different. And what we'll do now, we'll go on to the driving portion of this, show you guys how it's a little bit different from my car, which is parked over there at the moment, how it feels different from your general petrol version, and then basically just come out and give you guys my honest opinion at the end on whether I think this is generally the future of where cars are going, or whether you should spend your money better in other places. So yeah, let's jump into that. I'm guessing it works in the same place. It actually says start engine, so I don't know if we're starting the engine or the battery, but let's give that a go. Now the car's started up, so rest of it's pretty much the same. Put it into drive, put the parking brake down, come off the brake, and that's it. So the car's moving. It's got a slight hum to it, so I'll try throwing a clip from the outside where you can hear that. But I think that's really for pedestrians, but I mean, it feels really nice and quiet, to be honest. It's a lot more quieter in terms of you can't hear the engine noise, but at the same time, because it's a lot more quieter, you're hearing a lot more of the surrounding noise around there. So you know, there's literally, what's that? That's the S-Line petrol version. Actually got the similar number plate as this, so it might be from the same area. But yeah, you can hear a lot more of the road noise. Now I don't know whether that's because we've got the music turned off, which you obviously have to do on YouTube to make sure they don't mute your videos. I mean, it feels good. I mean, there if I'd go as far to say it feels like 200 horsepower, and I think that's what these are quoted to feel like. But yeah, I mean it's definitely quicker. But yeah, not sure. I'm convinced it's the full 200 horsepower they claim. It's supposed to be, I think, 0 to 60 in 6.8 seconds. The 35 Tfsi does it in 8.5, with probably a really skinny driver. So you can see there, you've got the gauge. It's telling you how much power you've got. And you've got the boost. So as you floor it a little bit, okay, I'll take that back. It definitely feels a lot quicker. That was the first time I actually took it over 50% in terms of the boost. But yeah, well, the thing you've got to factor in mind the whole way through this is it's £7,000 more than the standard S-Line, and it's worth, at that point you're looking at a £35,000 car. As standard doesn't come with heated seats, but at £7,000 more you're getting dangerously close to S3 territory. So I think it actually becomes, I think, just £2,000 under. And with the S3, obviously, you're going to be getting a similar spec. So again, that comes with a small virtual cockpit, etc. The main thing to bear in mind is there you're getting quattro, you're getting a big, more powerful engine. But I know what you're thinking right now is, Azam, you're missing the point. We wouldn't go for a Tfsi E if we were interested in all-out power. We're obviously going for it for basically the efficiency and how good it is to the environment. But now this next bit's basically just going to be my opinion. You don't necessarily have to agree with it, but there's a couple of things to factor in. Most people in the UK tend to have their car for 3 to 4 years when they buy them brand new, usually leasing it over a few months. Over a few years, right? What you need to factor in for yourself is, are you realistically going to see that £7,000 extra back in savings over fuel? If you're living in London, we actually don't need a car that often. It's probably a waste of money. So for myself, I probably only drive on the weekends, to be honest. During the week, when it's not COVID and the whole world's not turned upside down, you get on the train and use public transport. But if I was commuting to work every day where it was 20 to 30 miles away, then I could see myself using something like this, because you'd be charging it every night. But again, it's just worth saying that take all of the claims the manufacturers make with a pinch of salt, because yes, they might tell you it can do 40 miles on the electric charge, but I almost guarantee you the reality will be different. That would have been done in a controlled environment, running at, for example, 1 speed for the entire thing, which even if you do that on a petrol car, it's going to be really efficient. Now, with the government recently announcing that in 2030 they're going to stop all production of petrol and I think even diesel cars, there's going to be a big push towards hybrids and electric vehicles. Me personally, I don't feel the technology is quite there yet. So it's no secret, even the petrol and diesel versions of the A3s have got numerous electrical issues at the moment. That's without introducing a electric motor, a bigger electric battery, electric mechanism, without basically introducing any more gadgets into the mix. So I personally feel having too much electronics in a car is going to be problematic. So again, if you're owning it over 3 years, probably not that big an issue because your car's under warranty. But it's a bit horrifying. You just have to go and Google basically Golf GTEs, Passats, or even the A3 e-trons, and just see how long those cars actually last. Within actually 3 years, there's loads of stories of where the car's just gone out of warranty and basically you have a fault with the battery which renders the car useless. You can't drive it, only to take that back to a dealer and then be told it's a couple of £1,000 to get it fixed. So that was one of the reasons why I felt it wasn't now the right time for me to go down the electric route. yeah, like I said, I don't feel the technology's there. Yes, it's quick, but I just feel they need to do a lot more development. So going on to the MPG side of things, or the efficiency side of things, I guess, we spoke about that you're supposed to get between 30 and 40 miles out of the electric tank, depending on what version what alloys you've gone for. So if you go for the 17-inch alloys, I believe you get 41 miles out of the range of the battery, whereas if you go for the 18-inch, it's slightly less. So again, this obviously isn't my car, but based on what the owner has told me, it's giving you an average of, where's it gone, 50 miles to the gallon, over 200 miles. You could probably get that a lot better, but just to put that into context, I usually, if I'm going on a long journey on my petrol, 35 Tfsi, I usually average about 50 miles to the gallon, so it's a bit skeptical there. I'm not saying it's not efficient, it's probably definitely a lot more efficient than mine, but I'm really skeptical over whether it's worth the £7 extra that you'd pay over a petrol car. So let's jump on outside and we'll finish off what our thoughts are around the car and what the general conclusion is. So in conclusion, what did it feel like to have this car? So feels modern in terms of it is the way, whether we like it or not, the future's going. Cars are going to become electric. Like I said, petrol cars are getting banned from 2030. Is it worth £7,000 more than the S-Line? No, I would much rather say your money's better spent getting a better equipped edition one, especially if you're only going to be having the car over 3 or 4 years. You're probably never going to see the benefit of the £7,000 that you're pumping in extra into the E-version or the e-tron, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, like I pretty much said, it depends on what you want to use the car for. So are you going to be doing a lot of short trips? How far is your commute? How far is it to the gym when they eventually open back up? Like if you're just doing lots of short trips and there's a lot of charging points around you, then yes, potentially this could be beneficial. But again, you really need to work out the sums and see whether you're actually saving money. And you've got to think of it as a return on investment, guys. So that £7,000, you need to not only save that back, but then some to make it more worthwhile than getting a higher spec car, or even just going with the standard S-Line and saving yourself £7,000 at the outset. Other things to bear in mind is obviously they come with the horrible cables which you can plug in, but you're really going to have to bear in mind is charging convenience. Where do you live? Do you live in a block of flats? Have you got a driveway? Is parking tight? Are you always going to be guaranteed to park in front of your house? I'm going off London experiences here. That's not always guaranteed. In which case you're probably not going to be charging your car that often. So bear that type of stuff in mind. If you've got the ability to charge it and you're not going to be driving that often, then you know what, if 40 miles will actually last you the week, that's actually a good shout. But like I said, again, over the average 3 years, 4 years that people lease these cars, and you just work out whether that's beneficial. So you might right now be thinking it's not just about the £7,000, it's about saving the environment and that side of things. And yes, whilst you're right, it is absolutely about saving the environment. Like I said, the technology is not quite there yet, and it's just about being a little bit more aware of the marketing claims. So if you're that worried about the environment, please don't take this as to really be a zero emissions car. Of course, it might be zero emissions in terms of the exhaust emissions being produced, but even then, given what's happened in recent years, how do we even know we can trust that? Some of the things quite often overlooked are the actual emissions produced by these guys, so the rubber. So this is up to 1,000 times worse than the emissions coming out from the exhaust. So whilst you might think you're saving the environment, there's still quite a lot more that you're doing to damage the environment. But yeah, don't just think of it as that £7,000 is going to be helping the environment. Just, I want you to make the decision consciously, knowing that there's still quite a lot involved in the car that's still going to be harming the environment. I think we'll find out in a few years whether these electric cars are really hyped up and actually meet everything they were set to be. Basically, reason behind that is it wasn't that long ago that diesels were supposed to be the best thing out there, and well, look where we are now. They're basically the devil's choice of fuel. And with the electric, I don't know, I feel like again it's being rushed through. There's no real proper alternative, but yeah, only time will tell. But honest opinions now, guys, if this is the future of where motoring is going to be, then I think I can safely say for now I'll stick with the petrol version, and that's where we'll actually end this video. So I hope you enjoyed this quick look at the 40 Tfsi and the e-tron, or the electric version. But yeah, like I said, it's pretty basic for the amount you're paying for it, and I'm skeptical over whether it's actually beneficial over the long term, both to your wallet and the environment. But let me know what you guys think down below. Is this something you considered when buying new cars? Is this something you're currently looking at? Has this video helped in any way? Has it actually convinced anyone to save the money and just spend that on an extra spec, especially over the short term? But yeah, until then, make sure you like this video. That's a good way to tell us you're enjoying the content. Share it widely as well, and hit that subscribe button. But until then, guys, I'm going to head back in my petrol version. Yeah, just enjoy my heated Alcantara seats, and everything else that goes into a edition one. But yeah, we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, guys.